News Talk 580 1059 KMJ.
Good morning, John Broeske, Christina Musson. Well, Christina, this hour we're going to get some questions answered. We've been wondering for a few days here. This no bail bill in Sacramento keeps rearing its ugly head.
Wait, John, don't you mean the Safe and Resilient Communities Act?
Isn't
that what you're talking about?
I guess calling it no bail didn't work, so we had to come up with something else.
The zero bail bill?
How about Snickers for everybody bill? Anyway, we've got somebody that's going to help us wind our way through this, Christina. Jeff Clayton is the executive director of the American Bail Coalition.
Oh, great.
Jeff, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, what's going on? I mean, this is the last day of the session. They're still debating this. Any word on what's going on?
No, my head is spinning. So the last 2 weeks have been a wild ride. We started off with a bill that was dead for the last year that the district attorney from Sacramento argues is much worse than zero bail because it's affordable bails for all in California. And then the bill was again amended on Thursday, and it hasn't moved. And obviously today's the last day, and I'm not sure if it's going to move, but it's on the agenda, so it's very well good.
Still got the possibility of life, huh?
Unfortunately, it does.
Now, is it true that it's called now the Safe and Resilient Communities Act?
Yes, that's the title of the amended legislation. And it's a little bit different than it was, but that's definitely the title, which is, I wouldn't say too honest in terms of what it actually did when it was giving everybody a free bail.
Well, so tell us, what is, after it's been amended now, what is this bill that's sitting out there?
Absolutely. There's kind of two components to it. The first component is that bail bondsmen will have to give a refund when charges are dismissed. Or if somebody doesn't plead guilty or convicted of all the charges that are lodged against them for which bail is posted. So it will be some hardened criminals as well who plead guilty who are also going to get bail refunds. That's just because the feeling in Sacramento was they don't think bail is fair. And if, the police wrongfully arrest somebody, they think the bail agents should have to pick up the tab. And what that's going to end up doing is flipping the presumption of innocence. We can talk more about that in a minute. But the second component is really the big problem because it's an unfunded mandate to all the counties in California to supervise people on a pretrial basis. And that sounds fine to say that the county should pick up the tab and that defendants should no longer have to pay, which is what this bill would do. But what we're talking about is like people who have gotten a third-time DUI that have to get an interlock device put in their car pending trial. The state of California, or the counties in California, without any assistance from the state, are going to have to pay for that. And the end result of that is going to be less supervision of hardened, dangerous offenders in California. No more house arrests for a lot of these guys, no more ankle monitors and GPS monitors for a lot of these guys. Counties are left holding the bag. So it's not zero bail, but it's definitely going to be problematic.
Hey, Jeff, for people who haven't had the opportunity to interact with the bail system, I'd just like to kind of clear up, how does it work right now?
Well, California is a sort of a bail schedule state, which means the judges have largely, in a lot of the cases, already set a default bail so that when you're booked into jail, you have the opportunity to bail out. The bails in California are very high, and so most folks will use a licensed bail agent, which is licensed by the California Department of Insurance. And then, the premiums are negotiable and the rates are filed with the department. Generally, agents will charge, 10%, but, sometimes there's some flexibility on that. And then the other component is that bail agents in California are able to offer an interest-free payment plan to the friend or family that's picking up the tab on the bond, so they don't have to put all the money up front. And then, of course, when somebody doesn't show up to court, the bail agents are on the hook, where the third party who posts the money is on the hook for it. They either have to return the defendant to court or they have to pay. And, of course, bail agents in California have arrest powers, which are good across state lines. So when they flee, bail agents in California recover suspects from all over the country and all over the world.
Okay, so the way it works now, say I have a $100,000 bail. I go to a bail agent, they put up the $100,000 and charge me 10. Is that the way it works?
That's right. And really it's a financial guarantee. They don't actually post the cash, but those financial guarantees are backed by licensed insurance corporations in California as well.
Okay, so I put up the $10,000 and I'm out $10,000. Is that right? Or do I have the way it is now, do I have any chance of getting that back?
No, and that's your option, right? You could post 100% of the cash, and then if you appear in court, you will get your money back. So that's your option. You either get to post 100%, or you can have the bail agent post the guarantee for you.
Okay, but if
that's
I
and so the price of that guarantee is 10%.
yeah, and
Okay.
I'm out
That's
10
correct.
grand. I'm out 10 grand, but I'm free. So this would
right.
say, the new bill would say what about that transaction?
Well, it would say if your case is dismissed, in other words, they got the wrong guy, then the bail agent's going to have to give you the 10% back. But the problem with that is that you're incentivizing the bail agents to only bail out the guilty, because if we knew you were innocent, we would lose the premium, and so it's going to flip the presumption of innocence on its head, basically, and make the bail market make defendants who are guilty and provably, obviously guilty, the ones that are likely to get bail, and the people that are actually maybe they were wrongfully arrested, the bail agents aren't going to bail them out.
So you think, so basically, like all of us read the newspapers and stuff, and we see the circumstance where somebody's arrested and it looks like they caught somebody red-handed. Is that where bail agents get their information just like we do?
Yeah, and sometimes they're talking to the co-signers or the defendants themselves. But, I just give the example that if you were talking to a defendant under this legislation were it to become law, you would ask a question, did you do it? And if they say no, I can't help you. If they say yes, I can help you. And that's just a really bad rule to put into place. You want the innocent people who really need bail to have access to it.
What do you think is the motivation behind this in Sacramento?
I'm not sure. I think there's just been sort of a general feeling that the bail system wasn't fair. But, over the last 4 or 5 years that this has gone on, the California Supreme Court's sort of spoken on that and said, yeah, there is a problem with this, but the real problem is the judges need to look at this a little bit harder and the prosecutors need to put up a little bit more evidence rather than, trying to just say, well, we don't need bail. The suspects will show up anyway, and, it's regressive and all the different arguments that have been made. But, I'm not really sure on this bill because this bill just really doesn't make sense and doesn't really fit with what they've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years in the sort of the theme of zero bail.
Well, and I guess that kind of leads to the question, though, too, is that they've been coming after you time and time again on this one. And why are they coming after bail in general then?
Well, they just don't think it's fair. And there was a national movement launched in 2015 to basically say, if you can't afford your bail, you get out anyway. And we all know that you get out of jail free card for monopoly. I mean, this has been the tradition of bail in this country for so long. And then I think perhaps the senator that's been attacking us, I think maybe it got a little bit personal, and he just doesn't want to let up on us. But I can tell you, I've been fighting this in California for the last 6 years, and we're all pretty tired of it.
I'm just trying to think, like, bail is a way of making sure somebody shows up. So if we don't have bail, how do we know people are going to show up?
Well, we know they're not going to, and that's what we learned during the zero bail experiment during the pandemic. We also know that bail does have a deterrent effect on crime, too, because people know they have to commit bail or post bail, they're going to be less likely to do it again. And so that's why you saw a 70% new crime rate in Yolo County on these zero bonds during the pandemic. So without bail, and there's national studies that back it up, that there's just no skin in the game. There's no incentive to do anything. And when you've got friends and family that are on the hook for the defendant's appearance, it makes a big difference, and the statistics seem to show that.
We're talking with Jeff Clayton, Executive Director of American Bail Coalition, on this bill that's Senate Bill 262, the Safe and Resilient Communities Act. It's essentially, I'm calling it the $0 bail bill, even though it's not necessarily that's not necessarily accurate. But in the same sense, it's, so Jeff, you said that you're tired. Are you going to keep on fighting?
Oh, absolutely. I'm
Okay.
just tired for this round. I mean, this is adjournment sine die, which, what did Mark Twain say? The best, life, liberty, and property is only safe upon adjournment of the legislature. So we're all going to be happy tomorrow, depending on the outcome.
Okay, now say they pass it, then it would go to the governor. Are you still fighting?
I mean, we will try to request a veto. I don't know how successful we'll be. And then, the immediate question will be whether to do a referendum again or whether it's a litigation type of a strategy to try to knock it out. Because I think there's major legal problems with how they've set this up, flipping the presumption of innocence. So the fight will go on if it passes. But I would really like it to die so I can get a few days rest.
Well, like you said, the people of California voted on this and voted against it. I just don't. Why is it coming back so fast after that?
Yeah, and it was really fast too, because you remember the election was in November of 2020. This bill was introduced on the first day of the session in January of 2021, only 6 weeks after the voters had spoken by double digits that they want to keep bail in California and they don't want to mess with it. And so, yeah, it's just been frustrating for that reason as well.
Do you have any indication from the governor about how he feels about this?
No, I mean, he certainly supported the last round of it. But he has not involved himself or interjected himself into this debate this time. So we just don't know at this point.
Well, he's kind of looks like he moderated on several fronts here as he appears to be running for president. Does that give you any hope?
No, but
no.
I guess we'll see. I mean, maybe he's, in this bill, I think there's arguments on kind of both sides of the aisle to say that this is a bad idea. So that may help us on this one.
All right. Jeff Clayton, thanks so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's Jeff Clayton, Executive Director of the American Bail Coalition. This is a terrible idea.
I get the resistance to having people sit in jail because they can't bail out, right? And then they end up being innocent. That's tragic, but somehow you have to be able to make sure people will show up if you let them go. And like he says, if your family has to contribute them, something like put their house up,
Yeah.
I mean, definitely they're going to make sure you show up, right?
Right.
And we know, like a lot of these people that are let go, that get into the country illegally and they're given some kind of trial court date, they don't show up.
They don't come back.
And a lot of people, they don't have a lot to lose if they don't show up. So seems to me it's maybe not perfect, but what is?
No, you need something to help hold you accountable. And that's what it is. It's that you follow through.
Alrighty, 490-5858, Broeske Musson on KMJ.